Hello, it's Saturday, March 28th. You're tuned in to our late night newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. Thanks ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story tonight, Korea is toughening its call for Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to show genuine remorse for Japan's wartime atrocities during his trip to Washington next month. This after Abe made some ill-defined comments to a leading US daily about the tens of thousands of mostly Korean women who were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military during the Second World War. Our Song Ji-son reports.
Looking to deflect responsibility for Japan's sexual enslavement of women during World War II, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has come up with carefully calculated terms to describe what the victims went through. In an interview published in the Washington Post, Abe said the issue was a case of human trafficking. Watchers say Abe's new description may acknowledge the historical facts, but does so in a vague way that doesn't identify Japan as the perpetrator. The issue of Japan's sexual enslavement of Korean women and Tokyo's continual lack of atonement has driven Korea-Japan ties to new lows in recent years. Abe said he felt pain for the women who had gone through immeasurable suffering because they were trafficked and admitted that their human rights were violated. But he went on to say that his stance remains unchanged from the previous administrations, dampening hope for a clear apology during his trip to the U.S. next month, during which he will become the first Japanese prime minister to address a joint session of the U.S. Congress. That honor was reportedly made possible due to Tokyo's lobbying of a number of pro-Japan congressmen, also known as the Japan Caucus. In response to Abe's remarks, the Korean government said the first step toward resolving the sex slavery issue for Japan is to clearly acknowledge its responsibility. A government official said Abe's use of the term human trafficking blurs the nature of the issue, and that is not acceptable to the victims or the international community. Song Ji-son, Arirang News.
The United States is seeking to expand trilateral defense cooperation with Korea and Japan. U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Asian and Pacific Security Affairs, David Shear, says the intelligence sharing deal between the three countries was a good first step and that Washington sees more opportunities for further arrangements down the line. He added the US hopes Seoul and Tokyo make progress on historical issues which have strained their ties. South Korea, Japan and the US agreed in December to voluntarily share sensitive military information on North Korea's nuclear and missile programs. President Park Geun-hye is on her way to Singapore tonight to attend the state funeral of Singapore's founding father, Lee Kuan Yew. She will attend Sunday's funeral and express condolences to Lee's son and current Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. It will mark the first time in 15 years for a Korean president to attend a funeral of a foreign leader. Before flying out, President Park visited Busan to give the opening speech for the annual Inter-American Development Bank Congress, saying that Korea and the Central and South Americas are amigos and have been close partners for over a century. She also vowed to launch a new $100 million fund for the AIIB's Infrastructure Development Programme. It was 1 year ago to this day in the German city of Dresden that President Park Geun-hye unveiled her plan for the peaceful reunification of the two Koreas. But the general view is that elements of the so-called Dresden proposal involving humanitarian, social and cultural exchanges have not yet made any significant contribution to improving inter-Korean ties. Our Hwang Sang-hee reports.
저는 이곳 드레스덴에서 하나된 독일의 오늘과 분단 70년을 앞둔 한반도의 현실을 생각하면서 역사의 무게를 느끼지 않을 수 없습니다.
Exactly 1 year has passed since President Park Geun-hye laid out her grand plan for reunification in the German city of Dresden. But not much progress has been made since then. Out of 10 specific plans, only 4, expanding humanitarian aid and launching trilateral cooperation between the Koreas and Russia, are underway. Considering the current state of inter-Korean ties, the rest of the plan, like regular reunions for war-separated families and a peace park in the demilitarized zone, seem far from attainable. Despite its limits, Seoul's Unification Ministry vowed to stick to the Dresden proposal, saying it will narrow the gap between the two divided nations.
If North Korea responds positively, the Dresden Vision can become the foundation for mutually beneficial bilateral relations between South and North Korea.
Most experts remain skeptical, since North Korea was never fond of the idea, calling it an attempt for forced reunification.
Considering that North Korea has rejected any efforts connected to the Dresden proposal, I think there's no chance that the country will respond positively to South Korean offers stemming from the vision.
Experts say the South should be more aggressive in its approach and suggested dispatching an envoy to Pyongyang for broad discussions. Nonetheless, the Unification Ministry continues to call on North Korea to accept the Dresden proposal and come to the negotiating table, saying all its concerns can be discussed together. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
North Korea is striking some of its most defiant tones yet on its nuclear weapons program. Pyongyang says it's shutting the door on the long-stalled six-party denuclearization talks and will not accept any discussions aimed at getting it to give up its nuclear weapons, and that includes proposals from its once close ally China. An editorial in North Korea's party-run daily Nodong Shinmun on Saturday said that international pressure to denuclearize only strengthens its resolve to build an even more powerful nuclear arsenal. It also warned the United States to be wary about underestimating the country's nuclear power, saying it's at a level Washington can't fully comprehend. The UN Human Rights Council has ruled that North Korea's execution of Jang Sung-taek, the once powerful uncle of leader Kim Jong-un, and two of Jang's closest aides, was a clear violation of international law. Citing a UN report, Radio Free Asia reported Saturday that the Council said the public executions in December 2013 were totally unacceptable. The report also says the Council sent a letter to North Korea shortly after the executions asking on what legal grounds they had executed the three men, but have yet to receive a response from Pyongyang. Now, spring is well and truly here in Korea, which means we're all eager to get outside. But as you plan your activities, please keep in mind that we aren't the only ones eager for a bit of sunshine. Our Won-ji-yeon reports on some bugs that may take a serious bite out of your spring fun.
This tiny tick can do a lot of damage. Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently announced a warning for tick season as these wild insects become most active between April and November. Experts say that the bush ticks, also known as killer ticks in Korea, can carry a deadly virus called severe fever with thrombocytopenia syndrome, or SFTS. Symptoms include high fever, vomiting, and diarrhea with stomach pain. In Korea, the virus had a mortality rate of nearly 40% last year. And because there are no direct vaccines for the virus yet, experts say that early detection and treatment are key.
If you're experiencing any of the symptoms, it's extremely important to go to the hospital right away. Like any other virus, early treatment can help slow down its progress and reduce the risk of death.
The first Korean case of the virus was reported in 2013. Awareness of SFTS has grown in recent months after Korean health authorities confirmed the first human-to-human transmission of the tick-borne virus in the country. For now, experts suggest wearing long sleeves and avoiding grassy areas to protect yourself from tick bites. Won Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is calling on the world to support Beijing's plans for its new regional development bank. Speaking about the China-led Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank at the annual Boao Forum for Asia on Saturday, President Xi said other nations should build a new regional order that is more favorable to Asia and the world. President Xi said infrastructure built using funds from the AIIB will improve trade and transport links in Asia and ensure peace in the region. He added that China will promote coordination between the AIIB and multilateral financial institutions like the Asian Development Bank and World Bank. Korea signaled its intent to join the AIIB as a founding member on Thursday. The head of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, says a rate hike might be warranted later this year. In a speech at a Fed conference in San Francisco on Friday, Yellen added that she does not need to see an increase in core inflation, saying it's not essential before a rate hike, and the Fed should start bumping the rate before it meets its 2% inflation target. She did, however, stress that the return to normal interest rates will be gradual. The Fed chief also pointed out that by historical standards, the U.S. economy is still weak. The Federal Reserve has held rates near zero since December 2008. UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has appealed to senior military officials from around the world for more contributions and political will to boost the UN's peacekeeping operations. Addressing the first ever UN Chiefs of Defense conference in New York on Friday local time, Ban said peacekeeping was a shared global responsibility that advances the world's common interests. He added that it includes additional boots on the ground from developed nations with more technologically advanced militaries. Now, before we go, taking a brief look at the weather here in Korea. And we've been enjoying some nice spring sunshine and mild temperatures across the country today. Skies will be fairly overcast on Sunday, but for the most part, conditions will be similar to today. And the daytime high in Seoul will touch a very nice 17 degrees Celsius. Now, for our viewers around the world, here's a look at the global weather. Well, those are the stories we have for you at this hour. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out our website, arirang.co.kr/news. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.